then the Anagarika will come and offer the flower and cloth to the Ajahn. At the time, if you can refrain from making photo, just let the big camera make photo for us, and then later on, if you want to have the photo with the Ajahn, you have all day until 4:30. Okay, and if you can leave the aisle free for because Anagarika to be the candidate to walk in. Now I going to ring the bell and leave everything to Ajahn Saro, and then later on you may talk to him and come to listen to the talk later. เขาจะเริ่มพิธีจากถ้าใครมีกล้องถ่ายรูปนะช่วยเก็บเอาไว้ก่อนอันจะทำสำหรับถ่ายรูปโทรศัพท์แต่ใส่รูปกล้องใหญ่ให้กล้องใหญ่เขาถ่ายให้แล้วเราจะได้ภาพสวยๆนะครับแล้วตอนนี้พระอาจารย์จะตีระฆังเดี๋ยวค่อยถวายท่านที่หลังจากเวลานี้จะไม่ทันโอเคนะ I would like to welcome to Ajahn Saro and Ajahn Chito and Ambassador and everyone. And then we go to Sujinta and welcome Bhikkhuni Sujinta and welcome to Chile, everyone who never come and everyone who are regular guests. And now I would like to start the ceremony.
Want to say something? Oh.
เ
โจปัตโตอะโภคาโสปัปปัชชานาอิตังสุขารังอาคารังปัชชาวสัทธาเอคันตปาริปุณนังเอคันตปาริสุทธังสังฆังอิคิตังพระมจาริยังจาริตุยังนุนาหังคิสมาสุโอหาริตวะคาสายานิวัฏฐานิอัจฉติตวะอาการสมาอนาคาริยังปัปปัจเจยัง The household life is cramped and dusty. The homeless life is free as air. It is not easy living the household life, to live this fully perfected holy life, purified and polished like a conch shell. Suppose I were to shave my head, don the robes of a Buddhist monastic, and go forth from the household life into homelessness.
Now that the candidate went out for dressing and he will come back and ask for the 8 precept, we try to make the ceremony as sacred as possible because it's the opportunity for the Chยสาโร to come to the monastery far away from Thailand. It's not easy, and ideally he's gone forth for about 3-4 months, and asked him to wait until the Ajahn come. I would like to have the Anakarika candidate to be like a good start and have a good connection to Thailand. That he and his mother come to join the ceremony as well. I don't know if his mother is here. วันนี้เรามีท่านพระอาจารย์มาจากเมืองไทยก็คงไม่ต้องแนะนำว่าท่านพระอาจารย์เป็นใครที่จริงพระอาจารย์ก็เพิ่งบอกว่าอาจารย์ชยสาโรเมื่อกี้นี้ว่าถ้าคนมาวัดเราเยอะๆอย่างนี้ทุกๆวันพระอาจารย์คงจะดีใจมากแต่คนเราไม่ได้มีโอกาสขนาดนั้นเวลาการบวชอนาคาริกะนี้เราจะให้อนาคาริกะอยู่กับเรา1 ปีแล้วก็ฝึกจนกว่าว่าจะสามารถกราบถูกต้องให้พอรับศีลสวดมนต์ถูกต้องและสามารถที่บวชเป็นสามเณรได้สามเณรก็อยู่กับพวกเราปีหนึ่งเพื่อจะให้รู้ธรรมเนียมวิธีการเป็นอยู่ของพระเมื่อปีหนึ่งสามารถพร้อมจะทนได้อยู่ได้ก็จะให้บวชเป็นพระซึ่งเราก็มีท่านทิฏฐิยาโนเป็นพระที่บวชจากที่นี่ก็องค์แรกตอนนี้จะส่งท่านไปอยู่ที่ประเทศอิตาลีแต่ทีนี้พระอาจารย์ก็อยากจะให้การบวชนี้เป็นการทำให้เหมือนอย่างที่พระขาวท่านพูดว่าชีวิตชาวบ้านมันมีทั้งฝุ่นละอองฝุ่นทุลีอะไรต่างๆมันไม่การจะปฏิบัติธรรมมันไม่ง่ายมาเป็นอนาคาริกะเป็นโฮมเลสมันจะฟรีเหมือนเราบินอยู่ในอากาศอยากจะให้เป็นลักษณะอย่างนั้นจริงๆซึ่งการที่จะทำให้การบวชมีประโยชน์มีผ ผลมากก็อยู่ที่ความตั้งใจของผู้ที่บวชแล้วก็อยากจะให้มีโอกาสว่ามาถึงแล้วมีโอกาสมาบวชก็อยากจะให้ทำให้ดีที่สุดแล้วก็เป็นการเริ่มต้นที่ดีโดยมีพระอาจารย์เป็นประธานในวันนี้
Aham Bante Tisaranena Saha Atta Silani Yacham Tutiyampi Aham Bante Tisaranena Saha Atta Silani Yacham Yachami Tatiyampi Aham Bante ทีสารเนนะสหอัตถศีลานิยัจฉามิ
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะ
พุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
พุทธังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ธัมมังสารนังกัจฉามิ
สังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
สังฆังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยมปิพุทธังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยมปิธัมมังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ทุติยมปิสังฆังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ตติยมปิพุทธังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ทัตติยัมปิพุทธังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ตติยมปิธัมมังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ทัตติยัมปิธัมมังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ตติยมปิสังฆังสรณังกัจฉามิ
ทัตติยัมปิสังฆังสารนังกัจฉามิ
ติสรณกัมมนังนิติทัง
อามาวันเท
ปานาติปาตาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
อานาทิปาทาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
อาทินนาทานา
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
อาทินนาทานาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Adina dhana veramani sikhapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given.
อะพรหมจริยาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Brahmacharya veramani sikhapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity.
มุสาวาทาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Musavata veramani sikhapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying.
สุรามิรยามัจจปมาตทานาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Sura meraya machapamadhatana veramani sikhapadam samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
วิคาลโภชนาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Vikala Bhochana Veramani Sikhapadam Samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times.
นัจจกีตวาติตวิสุขทัสสนามาลาคันธาวิเลพนาธารณมันธนาวิปุสนาธานาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Nacha Gita Vadita Visukhadasana Mala Kanda Vilepana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatana Veramani Sikhapadam Samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification and adornment.
อุจจาสยนามหาสยนาเวรมณีสิกขาปะทังสมาธิยามิ
Uchasayana Mahasayana Veramani Sikhapadam Samadhiyami.
นิมานิยตสิกขาปะทานิสีเลนะสุขติงยันติสีเลนะโภคสัมปทาสีเลนะนิพพุติงยันติทัสมาสีลังวิโสทะเย
Sadhu, sadhu.
And so this was a very nice ceremony, I think, and did very well. It's quite intimidating to be chanting alone in front of the Sangha and those people behind you, so it's very well done. I'm just thinking of my Anagarika ordination, and it was very much more informal. I became Anagarika in 1978. And the background of it was that I decided to go to Thailand to become a monk, and then I had a friend who said, there's a group of monks in London looking to find a place to establish a forest monastery. Why don't you go and pay respects and ask for some advice, because you're going to Thailand alone, you don't know anybody, you don't know the language. So that made sense to me, and I went to London, and that was how I first met, paid my respects to Rinpoche. And I ended up staying a few days in that community of 4 or 5 monks. And then one of the monks, Nunta Viradhammo, who's now the abbot of our monastery in Canada, he was then quite a young monk, and he said, why don't you wait until the end of the year before going to Thailand, because it's a lot cooler then and more comfortable, it's really hot and sticky now, and why don't you spend the wasa or the pansa with us? We have an invitation from this Burmese millionaire to go and stay on his estate in Oxfordshire in the countryside and get out of the city. So I said, yeah, okay, that sounds a good idea. And then it appeared that the man who's rather eccentric character, who made this very kind offer, he had accommodation available for lay people who wanted to spend time with the Sangha during the Pansa, but they had to pay money, and it was quite expensive, and I didn't have any money. All I had was just enough for my plane fare to Thailand. So I said, well, that doesn't look like it's going to work out. And then Ajahn said, well, you could become an anagarika, and then you could go for free. So this was why I became an anagarika, so I could go and stay with the Sangha for free. And I said, what do I have to do? He said, I just shave your head, keep 8 precepts. Oh, that sounds easy enough. You see, you have to find some white gear and white trousers. So I thought, oh dear, where am I get some white trousers? And then I went back home, and my friend's dad owned a fish and chip shop. You know, and they're frying the fish and chips, and he got his white trousers. So I asked, I said, can you ask your dad if he's got any old white trousers from the fish and chip shop? I can borrow and become an anagarika. And he said, yeah, so yeah, that was how I became an anagarika. I think it's just a lot nicer, you know. So I was the senior monk in Wat Nanacha altogether for 10 years. So there was a period when I was officially the vice abbot or assistant abbot, and I was alternating with Ajahn Pasano, and then I became the full-time abbot for about 5 years. But all in all, it was like 10 years that I was the senior monk. And so many young men came wanting to become monks, and the whole anagarika training is kind of, you know, it's, we have different ideas and different ways of doing it, but what I felt was that just asking for 8 precepts it doesn't feel anything very special, because the lay people will ask for 8 precepts every time, or every one prat day, and whenever there's a retreat. So I wanted to make it feel something like really special for the person. So I'm going to boast now, you see, this is my boast. This first sutta section, that was me, that was my idea, to create a more inspiring ceremony for the anagarikas at Wat Nanacha. And then the ajahns from Amaravati and came, and they said, oh yeah, that's good, so we'll adopt that. So I haven't participated in this ceremony for a very long time, over 20 years, but so it brought back all these old memories, seeing this. I love this passage, it's so uplifting and inspiring, isn't it? So anyway, this is like the first step for you, and I hope you go all the way and become a monk and spend all your life in a monk, the absolutely best way you could possibly spend your life as a human being. But it may not work out, who knows? And it's like Ajahn Chah said, the ceremony, you may feel it's a lot of hassle and learning, but actually it's nothing really, the ceremony. It's what you do after the ceremony's over. That's when the real work begins. You know, it's like for lay people, in stories, they're seeing everything, you know, the last page or the last scene is the marriage, and it's like happily ever after. But actually that's where it begins, and that's where it starts to get difficult, once the marriage ceremony is over. And so there's a lot of challenges that lay await for you in the future. But you have a very strong community that you're entering, and it's, as you know, widespread community covering the whole globe these days, and you'll make many really good friends, and you'll many wonderful teachers and exemplars and Kalyana Mitta, and then over the course of time maybe you'll have your own students, and so there's a beautiful web and transmission of the Dhamma. And if we look at the history of Buddhism over the past 2,500 years, it's very clear that the health and that Buddhism flourishes when the monastic order flourishes. When the monastic order is in trouble, Buddhism is in trouble. So being a part of the monastic order, is you're playing a part in making sure this wonderful teaching doesn't decline and disappear from the world. My own motivation, becoming a monk, was based upon questions that came up in my life as a teenager. First of all, what's the best possible way you can live your life as a human being? And then I thought, well, what's your criteria for that? If you could decide between different kinds of computers, different kinds of cars, or like material things, you have certain criteria, and you compare them, which one fulfill your criteria. And then what is the criteria for deciding a good life? Can you say that one life is led in a better way than another life? On what grounds could you do that? So that's what really set me off on my path of practice. And the other big question in my life as a teenager is, the world is such a mess. It's so full of suffering and cruelty and injustice, and so many terrible things going on. Does it have to be like this? Is it just something you have to say, well, yeah, the world's like this, it's always been like this, always will be like this? Or is it possible that the world could be better than this in some way? And if the answer to that is yes, the world could be somewhat better than it is in some respects, not too idealistic. But then the following question, well then what's your responsibility as a human being to try to play a part in making the world a better place in the way that you think it could be? So I studied and read an awful lot of books, and then I came across Buddhist teaching. Made absolute sense to me, not some kind of exotic Asian philosophy, the absolute kind of common sense. It's like, oh yeah, of course. But the teaching that the suffering of human beings is essentially a product of our lack of understanding of ourselves and the world we live in, and that we have the capacity, we have the potential to realize the true nature of things and true happiness, freedom from all suffering, through the practice of the Eightfold Path, not through prayer or ceremonies, but through a very systematic, thorough, comprehensive education of every aspect of our life, our conduct, our emotions, our thoughts, the way we look at the world. And so this for me made sense, that in summary, the best possible life that to my view, and the one which would be fulfilling this idea of trying in a small way to make the world a better place, is to follow the Buddha's path of practice, to develop wisdom, compassion, understanding in myself, and then to share that with others. So for one's own self, one's own benefit and happiness, and for the happiness and benefit of all beings. So this is like my path. And then I travelled all over India, and I was away from home for 2 years. I didn't want to do anything else by this point. I just wanted to study and practice Buddhism, but how do you do that? And then I heard about the life of a Buddhist monk, and wow, this is what I've been looking for. So this is an institution designed in every detail by a fully enlightened Buddha, specifically for people like me. I mean, what more could I ask for? Yeah. So that's how I decided to become a monk and came here. and sort of following the same path that you're now embarking upon. But as you know, the monastic, Buddhist monastic order is not one where you take lifetime vows, and many people fall by the wayside, and many people have certain ideals and certain understanding when they're one age, in their early 20s, and maybe by late 20s it changes, or in the 30s it changes. And I think it's the strength of Thai Buddhism that it's all right to leave if it's not really, you're not suited for the life, or you for some reason or another, you want to follow a different way of being a Buddhist, or a different path. There's no disgrace in that. And in fact, in Thailand, it's a bit, like in America, you maybe see movies where you see like a ex-soldier, like a vet, and then people come up to them and say, thank you for your service. You've seen it. It's like that with ex-monks in Thailand. If someone knows you've been a monk, it's like, thank you for your service. It's like you did a really good thing for yourself and for others. So I think that it's, you don't want to have monks in monasteries who don't want to be there. It just makes everyone else miserable. Better if they leave altogether. But because there is that opportunity to leave, it means you have to renew your commitment day by day. You can't take it for granted. You have to, and it's easy to take things for granted, even as a monk, if you're not careful. So this is the key teaching. The Buddha, his last teaching before he left the world was things change, things decline, things decay. Therefore, train yourself, perfect yourself in heedfulness. Heedfulness means, it sounds a bit kind of awkward, but it means non-separation from mindfulness. So being always aware and maintaining in your mind, how you feel right now, this inspiration, this certainty, just cherish that and water it and keep it alive. Don't just become sort of used to it and take everything for granted, because as monastics we're looked after very well, aren't we? We have nice places to live, delicious food to eat every day, and people are so concerned for our welfare. We get ill, people want to look after us and give us medicines and take us to... So we get a lot, and so we have to live up to that. And we're not expected to be enlightened beings to be worthy of that, but what people want is sincerity. And when I was what Nanachan said, I don't expect you to be super monk. I don't expect you to be really great at everything. And I ask just one thing: you try, because everyone can do that, can't you? Whether you're good at something or whether you're not. You say, well, I don't know how good I can be. I know I can try. And if you have that love of learning and love of development and just trying and just working away, and just very, very patiently, just step by step, you'll go a long way. And I really hope that you will stay in the robes and experience all the fruits of the holy life. And I come here, and so I'm not your Upajjhaya, that would be someone else, when assuming that you do take Upasampada. But please look upon me as a teacher and a good friend, and someone that you can look to for advice and encouragement in the years ahead. Shayantum Bodhiya Mule Sakyanam Nandivandano Evantavam Vijayo Vijaya Sujaya Mangale Aparajita Palam Kesi Setata Vipokale Abhiseke Sabhabuddhanam Agapato Pamo
าตังสุมังกลังสุปปาตังสุโหติทังสุกันโนสุโมโหโตจะสุยิตังบรหมจาริสุปดากินังกายกรรมังวาจากรรมังปดากินังปดากินังมโนกรรมังปริปิเตปดากินาปดากินานิกัตตวานลบันตาเตปดากิเน
จากที่เราไหว้พระครั้งหนึ่งก็ลงไปข้างล่างคือพระธรรม
สาวกสังโฆ